Okay, time for another crappy, washed out looking video. This time I'd like to talk about the LED pitch display, which I call the tuner. And I'd like to talk about some rationale behind why it is the way it is. In my opinion, tuners that display note letters and some kind of plus minus meter for where you are in the note, they're fine as guitar tuners, but I think they're fairly worthless in real time just due to recognition factors. Your brain can't process that kind of like A sharp plus 10 cents. You just can't. What are you going to do with that? You can't use it quickly. So there are 12 notes in an octave. And it's cyclic, so it seems kind of smart and logical to put them in a ring, the note display at least. Now humans, it's interesting, can instantly visually recognize quantities of up to about 5 or 6. Beyond that you end up sort of counting. But below that you can see it. So staggering the 12 notes into 2 rings of 6 should maybe increase recognition speed. Now there's a counterclockwise, clockwise convention for pitch increase here. The clockwise convention it's like, water spigot versus volume control or a clock. The water spigot being counterclockwise for increasing, the other two for being clockwise, obviously clock. But one reason here for me picking clockwise for increasing is that the encoders, when you spin an encoder, you're turning it clockwise to increase the value. So, I mean, there's a real basic sort of consistency. The second is that when the pitch is increasing and it's on the side, and the note is on the side that the volume display is on, they're increasing together. And I don't know, it just strikes me as more consistent for some reason. Steps that stay on one ring are whole steps. You can see that the notes here are staggered. You go on the outside to the inside ring, to the outside ring, to the inside ring, and so forth. So if you stay on the outside ring, that's a whole step. If you stay on the inside ring, that's a whole step. And only when you're changing rings do you get half steps. So anyway, that forms actually convenient patterns that are sort of easy to see. Now we've got I want to say talk about this for a second. The round LEDs, the way to maximally pack something round is the way you see it here. Now there's obviously spaces in between things, but if we smushed them all together and got rid of the spacing, this would be the maximally packed situation. And what's nice about this is you end up with lines, straight lines, and things like that inside the patterns, and that helps out with forming patterns and recognizing patterns. So the path that the LED takes when you're playing a song or or a scale or something like that has a recognizable form. And there are actually 2 patterns for like a major or natural minor, and it just really depends on what note you're starting on. So like say you're starting on C. You can see that pattern is vertically symmetric, and that's the reason that pattern is vertically symmetric is because I wanted C, and the reason it's oriented the way it is because I wanted C on the outer ring. And the only way to have C on the outer ring is to orient the pattern this way and not 15 degrees rotated. There's 2 ways you could lay this out. So that's my rationale for the orientation of the pattern, the group itself. So there's two patterns. You saw this one, and I call this the crown. It's the 3 LEDs on the outer ring and then 4 LEDs on the inner ring. So that's the C major scale. It's also the A minor natural. You just start on A, but use the same notes. Right, the other pattern I call the house, and let's do that in C sharp major. The reason I call it the house is like this is the roof, like the roof starts here, and that's the roof, and then this is the base of the house. Okay, and so any major or natural minor scale is one of those two patterns depending on where you start, and rotated. So that's the whole, over time you learn to see the patterns as rotated, and it's not quite as hard to play them. But on the tuner page here we have note offsets. You can see this. We can offset. So if you're in some other key than C or A minor and you want to play with the display showing you the C crown, you can just simply offset it. These offsets here only change the display and not the pitch. So the tuner's changed quite a bit during development. I yacked before I got the hardware really up and running. I really thought that it would be ideal to have the reverse sense to it, that the display would be entirely, all the LEDs would be on, and that the note that is the LED that's indicating the note being played would be dark. And I can actually show that to you because it's still here. I'll probably get rid of it. Like here you can turn the thing completely off if you don't want to be looking at it. And then here's the negative display. And you can see it's just I don't know, you just get lost. It's really hard to tell where you are when you're between notes. And you can see that I'm modulating the middle LED along with it's okay if you're playing really slow. Anyway, I think this is just much clearer. Also on here we have a brightness knob, so we can crank up the brightness. And we have a quantization knob that changes the quantization of the brightness. So if you want to see more, like I don't care about between note information, that might be more quantization might help you. I don't know. I generally keep it down. I don't keep it turned off. I think a little is nice because it keeps like only 2 LEDs on when you have it set to 1. Like here's off. You can, well, I guess you still get 2, but I mean it's just more definite. But any more than that, and you kind of need that between note information. All right, the octave display here is a 7-segment display. You can see that it morphs between B and C using pulse width modulation. Now, I thought that the octave display would be a lot more useful. In fact, it was gigantic. It was to the left of the note display earlier on, and I just find myself hardly ever looking at it. I don't know. I keep the pitch range kind of limited anyway, just for ease of playing and for wider note spacing. So I generally kind of know where I am in terms of octaves. But, if you're super nervous or whatever on stage, it might be helpful. I don't know. And then, like, when I shrunk the octave display, I was able to put a volume display in. And this volume display is really, really useful. I use it all the time for feedback when I'm setting things like the knee. And let me show you the knee. That's set on the envelope generator screen. So we have a level here of 16 and a knee of 4. Now the knee of 4 is just the strength of the knee, how quickly the knee kicks in. The level is where it kicks in the volume field. And a 16 here corresponds to, if 0 dB is maximum volume, 16 corresponds to minus 12 dB. So, and then the LEDs on the display correspond to 12 dB themselves. So when nothing's on, you're at minus 48 dB or lower. When the first one's coming on, you're in that range from 48 to 36. The next one's 36 to 24. Next one's 24 to 12. The last one's 12 to 0. Now, when I play a note, and I have the knee kind of set up here, I've got it set up so that I go from no sound to minus 12 dB over maybe an inch. It's really pretty quick. And I don't need much hand movement. And then the remaining is over several inches, maybe 4 or 5 inches. So, and what that does is it lets you phrase notes quickly. You know, you can, but then it lets you get expressive after you started. You know, after you have some volume, and that's the way voice works a lot. That's the way a lot of instruments work. You know, once you get them vibrating, there's a kind of a lower threshold to their vibration, and then you've got some volume control after that you can kind of nuance. So that works out really good, and it keeps your hand from like having to move really fast and over really big distances. You really don't want a linear volume field. I mean, you want it basically linear, but then you want to mess with it with a knee, I think. I do anyway. It makes playing much easier and much more expressive. So I guess that's about it. Let me show you, well, let me hit you over the head again with Ave Maria. And then I'll show you that, you know, the pattern, I'm playing it in the key of C. So you can see it's forming a crown pattern, and you know, the bottom part of the crown here. And there it breaks away from the crown pattern. Ugh, I'm blowing it. Anyway, thanks for watching.